Okay, pre-algebra class, this is lesson 33, subtracting integers. Subtracting integers. Let's go to the new concept. Recall that we use a method called algebraic addition to subtract integers. And so subtracting a number we had its opposite. Consider the following examples. Okay, so they have okay, so for example 1, they have -2 minus -2, okay, excuse me, -3 minus +2. Okay, and so what they're trying to say is that instead of subtraction, what you can do is you can change this to an addition, and if you want to do that, it's okay, but that just means you have to change the second one to what, if it was positive, you change it to negative, and then you can do it. -3 plus -2. So if I had a debt of $3 and reals, and I had another debt, then that's going to give me -5. Okay. So that's one way to think of it. This is the same thing. -3 minus +2. It's still going to be -5. But you can do that if you would like to do that. To really understand this, though, you know, if I owe someone 3 reals and I'm taking away +2, you know, to think about actually losing 2 more is probably the best. You know, to understand it, that's why you end up with -5. Okay, look at B. We have -3. This is A here. This is A, and this is B. Okay, so this one -3 minus negative. Now this is the one that you really have to be careful about, because you can see here we have a minus and a negative without any number in between. And what happens is 2 negatives become a positive. Okay, 2 negatives become a positive. So it's -3 plus 2, and that would give you -1. -3 plus 1. This is the one that probably causes people the most problems when they see a minus and a minus, and that you just have to remember that a minus and minus become a positive. You can almost see that right here. It almost looks like a positive, you know, and that's what my teacher used to do. She would make that into a positive, so that way I would remember that it does become a positive. Okay, all right, let's go to example 2. Example 2, Jocelyn has a checking balance of $1,286. In the mail, she receives a rebate check for $25 and a utility bill for $128. She deposits the rebate and writes a check off for the bill. Write an equation with the integers for this situation and find her checking balance after the transactions. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so she has a checking balance, so that's what we start at. She has you know, that's her balance. That means what she's starting at. So she's starting at a positive this. In the mail, she receives a check for $25. That's good. She's receiving a check for $25. Okay, so she receives a check for $25. That means we're going to add $25 there. Okay, and a utility bill for $128. So that's a bill. So that is going to be a bill would be minus, right? Okay, a bill is minus. So he receives a check for $128, and then he gets a bill for $128. Okay, she deposits the rebate check and writes. So you know, so we can add this first. Okay, add these two together first. That gives us 9, 11, 3, 1, 1,300. Okay, so after the rebate check, it's he's up to his balance is up to 1,311. Okay, that's after the check. Then he writes the check that he owes for the bill. So then you would subtract that. Okay, borrow 3, borrow 8, 1, 1. So then his balance is going to be 1,183. Bingo. Okay. There is a rule for this. Okay. I don't. You know, you can try to memorize the rule when you're adding and subtracting integers. Here's for positive, it says to find the sum of addends with different signs. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like. Edit. Whoop. Okay. All right. So let's look at this rule. It says okay. To add to the sum of addends with different signs. So that basically says if you're adding two numbers, two integers with different signs. So like a negative plus a positive. So that's -5 plus 3. Okay. This is what you have to do to memorize this. Okay. So it says subtract the absolute values of the addends. So what that means is you would take these numbers and then, just imagine they don't have negatives. So you would just take these numbers off the side and you'd say, okay, if I subtracted them, they would be 2. All right. Now, then it says take the sign of the addend with the greater absolute value. Okay, so which one of these is bigger, 5 or 3? Well, 5 is bigger. So that means that this 2 for this answer, it takes this sign, so that's why it becomes -2. Now you can memorize that rule. Do it the other way. 3 plus -5, same thing. You would take the two numbers, subtract them, 5 minus 3, just like absolute value of them. That would give you 2. Which one's bigger? Well, the 5 is bigger. If it didn't have these signs, the 5 would be bigger. That's why it would be -2. Okay, or let's do -3 plus 5. Same thing. 5 minus 3 is 2. You would take the 2 would be positive because the 5 is bigger. However, okay, that does get complicated. All right. My suggestion is that if you have this, if you are adding numbers of the opposite sides, you really have to think about it. You have to say to yourself, okay, I have 3 reals. I'm adding a debt of 5, right? Negative is a 5. You can even have a picture in your head. Here's 3 positive chips, okay? And then I'm adding 5 negative chips there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, these cross each other out, leaving with 2 negative chips, okay? To find the sum of addends with the same sign. Okay, so just basically 5 plus 3. Well, we know how to do that. That's just 8. What about -5 plus -3? It's actually very simple. It's the same thing, but it's negative. Okay, a negative plus a negative is always going to give you a negative. This is a bad situation. Owing someone 5 reals, you're just adding another debt. This is basically what it is. Okay. All right. For subtraction, instead of subtracting a number, add its opposite. That's the rule. Okay, they instruct you to do that if you are subtracting integers. So you have 3 minus. Oh, brother, let me. Okay, let me try that again. Let's try that again. Okay, so if you have 3 minus 5, what they're saying is don't subtract it. Change this to a add, and then change that to what the opposite. So add that to negative. 3 plus -5 is -2. Okay. All right. It's going to be important that you try these without a calculator. After you do them, go ahead and check them with a calculator. Do A through F. Excuse me. There is one on the other side. A through F. Make sure that you do the model here. You can use a number line, or you can use chips or whatever you'd like to do. For a number line model, it looks like this. Okay. For a number line model, you would draw a number line first. Let's draw a number line. So okay, All right, draw a number line, and then you would say we have -5 minus -2. Okay, here's 0. All right, you would go down to -5. Okay, you put a little line there, a little dot, excuse me, and then we're subtracting a -2. Well, remember what that means? That means adding 2. Negative, negative, adding 2. So then you would go up to to -3. So the answer here is -3. Okay, good luck. A through F of the practice set. Goodbye.